to the Everything Cancer podcast. This podcast is intended for survivors, those who love them, healthcare providers, and leaders of cancer support organizations. Our guests offer insight into the honest survivor experience, how challenges are met head-on, and where blessings are discovered. We cover effective self-advocacy on the bumpy road of cancer survivorship from the moment of diagnosis on. We talk about rekindling intimacy when cancer has changed your world. We are given behind the scenes insight into cancer care because understanding it better empowers you to advocate for yourself more effectively. We hear from leaders of cancer support organizations about their resources and how to access them or those like them. The Everything Cancer podcast welcomes survivors who would like to share their journey and how they have met their challenges, providers who would like to share their empowering insight, and leaders of cancer support organizations who would like to share their stories and resources. We welcome support through sponsors, the Everything Cancer website, and our Patreon page. Please note, the information shared on the Everything Cancer podcast is not intended as medical advice. Please always consult with your healthcare team. The staff at Everything Cancer podcast will not answer individual healthcare concern questions. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you enjoy this episode and find it useful. Please do share it with other people if you think they'll benefit from it, and rate us on your favorite podcast platform. Thanks and take care. Welcome to the Everything Cancer podcast. We have a very dynamic guest with us today by the name of Amanda Ferarro. Amanda is a cancer survivor. She is a TEDx speaker. She has a very tangible story that is full of all kinds of twists and turns. She is a keynote speaker. She is a healthcare influencer, a best-selling author, and a freelance blogger. And I feel so privileged to have Amanda here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I thank you for being here, Amanda, and taking time and energy to be here. So while we were talking before we actually started the interview, we started talking about your survivorship journey. And maybe a good way to segue into that is you mentioned that you were meeting with someone from a medical school to put together a curriculum to talk about cancer treatment and survivorship. And that soft conversation that needs to happen with people, that should happen with people that are affected by cancer, to get them into the second part of their journey from treatment to a true survivorship journey. So can you tell us about that conversation?
Yeah. So I was approached via LinkedIn about if I had thought about making a course for medical school for nurses and doctors who are going into the oncology field. Honestly, I didn't think of it, but when we put our heads together, it's kind of like a no-brainer to say, absolutely. So when you're diagnosed with cancer, your world changes. It's a complete 180. You know, you are a fight or flight, and whatever cancer you have, I mean, everyone's journey is different, but you have it. Okay. I gotta try to go through this. I gotta do as best as I absolutely can. I'm gonna fight with everything I have. And then you make it. And then you get to ring the bell. And then the doctor says, all right, I'll see you in 6 months. And then you look like a deer in headlights because you're like, wait, I just had to tell you every time I had a symptom or a reaction, or like you were there for me. And I had a team of people, and I came to see you every week. And now I don't have to. And I get it puts you right in fight or flight. And the way you deliver news to people is a game changer. I was told I had cancer in a shared room by myself. The doctor came in, blurted it out, and then left the room.
Oh my gosh.
It was absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
So for me that's when my PTSD started, because I didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. What exactly it was. I knew I had blood cancer, but he didn't really specify it. And he's like, oh, we're going to start treatment and we're going to do this and you'll be fine. No information, not very good bedside manner. And that's pretty much why I got a second opinion and then went to another hospital. But even
always get a second opinion.
Oh yeah,
always. Even if you don't think you need it, just to have confidence in your plan.
Yeah.
So anyway, you went to the second hospital.
Yeah. So then I went to the second hospital. They figured out what cancer it was, and then had me go to another hospital that they felt was best for me. Even the doctors at the second hospital knew that it was so bad. They felt like they couldn't treat it the best way. So they had me get another opinion, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You don't find doctors like that nowadays. But survivorship. So my treatment was induction chemo, which was in hospital for about 33 days the first time. Then I was home, then back and forth every other day, then every 3 days, then every 5 days, then once a week, then once every other week. And then once that finished, I went back in for consolidation, which was 7 days in hospital with chemotherapy. Then back home, then I would go every other day, then every 3 days.
So you found your life completely derailed.
Right.
Like suddenly derailed. Yeah.
Right. I was a mom, a stay-at-home mom. My fiance worked, and then I was diagnosed. I literally put my son to bed one night, and it was like late. It was like 10 o'clock. My fiance just got home from work, and I said, I'm going to the hospital. Something is wrong with me. I think it's my heart. I'll be fine. I'll be back later. I didn't go home for like 35 days after that.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had this diagnosis, you got 3 opinions, it sounds like. So you finish your treatment, you ring the bell, and then.
So I ended up having chemo and then finished. 7 months later, I relapsed. So I had to do that all over again.
Wow.
And then 3 weeks after I went home from my second induction, I ended up going back for a stem cell transplant.
Mm-hmm.
So I had back-to-back chemotherapies, was always in touch with my doctor, had a whole team of people. The hospital was my life.
My gosh.
So then after the stem cell transplant, like once he was like, okay, like you're good, you can go home. I'll see you like once every 3 months for bone marrow biopsies. It took me about 6 months to kind of like get off that medication. But then once the doctor was like, okay, I'll see you in 6 months. I looked at him and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, my life completely changed. I'm not the same person I was before I was diagnosed with cancer.
Right.
Now I'm on disability. Now I can barely afford my bills. I have a kid that I can't really go outside and play with because I have a brand new immune system. So I have to be careful. I'm not supposed to be around my kid because I can get sick. Everything completely changed. And it was really, really scary for me. And it kind of put me in this anxiety and like fight or flight state of mind. And, you know, although support groups are absolutely amazing and I have the best family and friends around, and I had so many people that I could talk to and that were there to support me. But I wasn't myself. I was different. Cancer changes you.
Mm-hmm.
And when the COVID pandemic happened and we all were on lockdown and had to wear masks and had to be careful and wash our hands and make sure you had hand sanitizer and things were mandatory and you had to be careful and you couldn't be around other people and people were complaining, you know what I said? How does it feel? How does that feel? Because I had to go through that exact same thing when I was diagnosed with cancer. That new normal that everyone hated, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice whether or not I was allowed to go out somewhere. Because if I got sick from someone, I could have died. So for me, I was able to relate people with what cancer patients go through.
Yeah.
And that was huge for me because I was about like two years cancer free at that time. But for the first time, I was able to explain it to people in a way they understood what survivorship was. Imagine being diagnosed with a disease that already has a taboo around it. You already think you're going to die. You're fighting for your life, literally fighting for your life. In my case, I had to have a brand new immune system, so it was a little bit different. But still, your life changes. Everything changes. You got to stop work. You're not getting the same amount of money. You're stressed out. Everything's more expensive. You don't know how you're going to survive. And you're fighting for your life.
Wow.
That is how cancer patients feel.
Wow.
And I was able to relay that to everyone around me on my Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and really just kind of able to give people that picture of survivorship.
But it's not even just your life and your financial situation. It's your body.
Yeah.
And your mind.
Right.
Like it's a whole new ball of wax.
Yeah, because it's poison. Chemotherapy is poison. You have to take it. And when I talk about it, they're like, oh, you sound like it's a bad thing. It kind of is. They're giving you medication that's going to help you, yes. But at the same time, it can affect your body. And, chemotherapy lasts in your body for like 5 years after you have it. People don't know that. It's not talked about enough. They don't want to scare the patients. But at the same time, they need to know what's going on with their body. And it will help us realize that it's okay. It's okay to talk about. It's okay to bring up. And you're not the only one.
Right.
You're not in this journey by yourself. And it is normal. It happens. So I just had 2 days ago 3 biopsies for neuropathy, nerve damage. From a chemotherapy drug that I had a reaction to it. And because of that reaction, I now have peripheral neuropathy. And the biopsy was to see how fast my nerves are dying, because my neurologist thinks I will probably lose mobility in my legs from my knees down to my feet within the next 10 to 15 years.
Oh my gosh. That must have been a very terrifying conversation to have.
Right. And it's because of cancer, because I wanted to save my life, because I wanted to fight. My body is now left ravished because of chemotherapy. It's kind of like a 50-50 balance of, do I want to do this? Do I want to fight? Do I want to put myself through that? And then being grateful that you're alive and you get the cancer-free diagnosis. But at the same time, the effects that chemotherapy has, I don't think it's spoken about enough. I don't think it's talked about enough.
Thank you for tuning into the Everything Cancer podcast. We appreciate you being here with us. If you are finding this episode useful, please share it with others that you think would benefit. And don't forget to rate us with your favorite podcast platform. Please check out the show notes for more information and more information about our guests, links to their websites, and any other resources they've shared. We aim to make it easy for you to connect and learn more about the valuable insights shared in each episode. We welcome support through sponsors, the Everything Cancer website, and our Patreon page. Please stay tuned for a brief word from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to our episode. Thank you so much. Do you have a dry mouth that distracts you with that nasty feeling and taste? H2 Ocean has your solution, literally and figuratively, with its sea salt healing rinse. It's made from salt from the Red Sea, and it has other minerals that are beneficial to you in it. It also has lysozyme enzyme, which is soothing to the inside of your mouth, and xylitol, which makes your mouth water. It's very mild in flavor, yet refreshing. Does not make you suck in your cheeks like often happens with other mouthwashes. And it stays with you. Other mouthwashes, they're gone in 10 or 15 minutes. This has stayed with me for a few hours now, and it's great. I plan on using it before every podcast episode to keep my mouth moist without taking distracting sips of tea and so on while I'm talking. The links to the H2 Ocean Sea Salt Healing Rinse will be in the show notes, and then a QR code also on the YouTube version of this podcast. It's excellent to help rinsing with chemo mouth or irritation in your mouth from radiation, but mouth sores and just general everyday use. I find it really pleasant and really helpful to use. I hope you do too. Thanks. Well, I think what's happening from my perspective is that survivorship is now here because we have improved our treatments. But now we are seeing the collateral damage because people are surviving. And there is a lot of collateral damage. And how do we deal with it? So there are a lot of studies now going on, not that that helps you, but it's going to help because of what you are communicating. And thank you, Amanda, for being such an advocate. My gosh, because of what you're communicating, they're looking at dosing now. They're looking, okay, can we still have the same effect with less dosing so there's less toxicity? But you are part of that in between population. And I'm really glad you're speaking up so that we can hopefully get more. I hope you get help. I hope your neurologist finds a way, or there's a clinical trial or something to help you resolve these issues. And I do want to say that people that are listening that who are survivors that are having significant symptoms after their treatment, ask if there's a clinical trial for that, because there are clinical trials for survivorship symptom management. And also get a second opinion. It's not just about your cancer. It's about the symptoms that you're experiencing. Get a second opinion. Go to a palliative care specialist. Go to an integrative oncology physician and get a second opinion.
Yeah.
People who think outside the box for managing your symptoms. So, my gosh, Amanda, how are you dealing with that news that you are having neurologic degeneration?
Well, it's not the only thing I've had because of cancer. So I was diagnosed with permanent chemo brain and now have ADD. I had to do like a psychological 4-hour test. The hospital did that and they found that I have permanent chemo brain. So I have really bad short-term memory loss. And that's an effect because of the treatment. I have herniated discs in my back that I have now calcified themselves because of the stem cell transplant. So there's pain with that. I have spinal stenosis. I did a bone density scan. I've the beginnings of osteoporosis. So there's a lot of different things that I've been diagnosed with since the treatment. Each day when I wake up, it is a blessing. I sometimes do live videos. I'll go live on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. And, I'll just talk to people, and waking up in the morning is such a blessing. When I was going through treatment, it was so scary and difficult. I begged God to wake me up each morning. So now, yes, I might be in pain. I might be miserable. It might take me an hour to get out of bed in the morning, but I was able to open my eyes, and I fight every single day for my son. He is my number one. And honestly, if I didn't have him, I don't think I would be here today, but he keeps me on my toes, keeps me fighting. And I'm just so grateful to be alive. Whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, I'm here. And during the days, you'll hear me say, even to myself, take a deep breath. It's okay to be upset. Breathe. You're alive. And I have to remind myself, because it's hard. It's especially on the days I'm in pain. But I'm just so happy to be here. And that's why I fight so hard for other cancer patients. So I have a genetic mutation, TP53, which a lot of cancer patients have because it's a cancer-causing mutation. So when you have cancer, sometimes that's why. Mine, however, is in my DNA. So my grandmother has the mutation. My mom had it. My sister had brain cancer when she was 6 years old. My aunt had Ewing sarcoma. My grandfather died of esophageal cancer. My grandmother's sister died of lung cancer. She had AML. Her daughter, my cousin, had ALL. There's just cancer all around me. And I've been able to be the sister of someone who had cancer, the niece of someone, the, granddaughter. And I've been able to see it from my perspective because I was the patient. So I have all these perspectives, and I'm going to use it to benefit other people, because maybe that's the reason why I'm here. And I feel that deep in my heart that I've been put on this earth to do something, and the brain surgeries and the cancer was for a reason. And that reason is to help other people and to try and make change in this world.
That's so inspiring to hear you say that. It really is. And your smile, if people are listening to the podcast, your smile is a winner smile. This will be on YouTube too. So you also do work as a cancer patient advocate, correct?
I love being an advocate. So I started my website when I was first diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wait, hold on. Tell us the name of your website.
My website is called cancerisanasshole.com.
Say that one more time.
Cancerisanasshole.com. Because it is.
It is. It is. Okay. And I am sure that pulls so many people to you.
Yes, it really does.
Okay.
It kind of is an icebreaker, which is what I wanted. Cancer's so serious. And there's such a taboo with the word cancer. Like you hear cancer and you think death.
Right.
I wanted my website to be like an icebreaker. Be like, oh, I'm so sorry you're diagnosed with cancer, but cancer is an asshole.
So I'm going to title the podcast episode cancerisanasshole.com. Well, I won't say .com, but I'll say cancer is an asshole, .com. And that way people will know it's about you, but also it'll pull people into it to listen to you. So tell us about being a cancer patient advocate.
So, okay. When I was first diagnosed with cancer, the very first day, I started a Facebook page and I started writing in it. I started advocating for myself the very first day I was diagnosed with cancer. My mom shaved my head on Facebook Live and I shared it with everybody and it's still up there. You could watch it. You could share it. I felt like I had cancer. Cancer didn't have me and I wasn't going to let it take anything from me. So I took my hair. Mm-hmm. That was the fight in me. Mm-hmm. I was walking around the hospital with my chemo pole. I was doing crafts in my room, making wreaths, and I would talk to people. And then it went from me just sharing it with family and friends to the doctors realizing it's not breaking HIPAA laws if they're talking about it because it's public. It's on Facebook. Right. So they were allowed to share it with other cancer patients who are in the hospital. Hey, I know of this other cancer patient. Here's her website. You should take a look at it. So then walking through the hospital, I was able to meet people just walking around with my chemo pole because the doctors were able to share it. And then I met other people who had children who had cancer and they didn't realize that they weren't alone in their journey, that there was other people that, had cancer and then had kids or, were grandparents and, didn't know how to tell their kids. And by me doing this for myself and speaking out and getting everything I felt off of my chest, I was able to get in contact with other cancer patients. And then I realized I might be onto something here. I'm starting to create a community and there's other cancer patients who are talking to me and asking me questions. And I've never been one to get shy or to be embarrassed. My friends and my family know. So I was happy sharing it. And it was kind of like therapy for me. I got it off my chest and I wasn't scared and I wasn't frightened. And once I let that go and I got it off, I felt so much better. Yeah. And it just clicked for me. So I started the website, The Cancer is an Asshole. And I looked for groups that kind of understood what I was going through, but wanted to help the same way I did. Mm-hmm. So I joined NCCS, the National Coalition for Cancer Survivors. They're a
great organization. Uh-huh.
Love them. I'll be in DC with them at the end of June. And they are so amazing. And then I learned from them, not only can you advocate for yourself, but you can advocate for other cancer patients. Mm-hmm. And my heart kind of blew up and I fell in love and I felt like I found my purpose in being a patient advocate. So whether I'm speaking, doing podcasts or shows, or I'm writing articles, I talk about the things that people don't realize that are the gray areas within cancer that need to be spoken about but are less talked about.
Right.
That's what I love. That's what I bring up. And I love being able to help cancer patients. On my website, I have hundreds of free resources. Things like house cleaning that people don't know are free. There are places that once you're in survivorship for different like cancers, they have support groups and they have lodging that you can go to and stay for a few days and spas and summer camps. And there's so many things that you don't realize you need, but you don't realize you can get help with when you're diagnosed with cancer. So that's what I have on my website. And, whoever you are, a patient, an advocate, a caregiver, you can go there and find help for people. Medications aren't always covered sometimes.
Yes.
People don't realize that the drug companies that make the drugs also have a budget for people that can't afford it, and they will give it to you, sometimes for free, sometimes discounted, coupons so you can get it for cheaper. But people don't realize that, and it's not spoken about.
Mm-hmm.
So in my advocating, I said, I'm going to create a place that you can go when you're diagnosed with cancer so you can get all the things, info, articles that you can read so you can kind of understand, or share them with family and friends so they know what you're going through, because you don't know how to communicate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just in my heart.
What is a personal interaction you had through your website, without sharing names or HIPAA, that really touched you, really affected you?
So I had a woman reach out to me because her dad was just diagnosed with AML. And he was given like a few years to live.
So that's acute myeloid leukemia for anybody who's listening. So anyway, he was given a few years to live.
So they said he had like a year or two to live. And then like within a week or two, they said, oh, it's really bad. He's not going to last to the end of the month.
Gosh.
And like funeral expenses and medications. And she was looking for clinical trials. I looked at the email and I was just, I can help people. I can give people, I'm going to cry.
That's okay.
I could give people resources that might help them and might give them more time with their loved one or themselves.
Yeah.
And I can put a smile on their face today just by helping.
You're going to make me cry.
Just by being an advocate, being a shoulder to cry on or an ear to listen to. Someone's world completely changed and they're stressed out and they don't know what to do. And they email me and they'll come to the website and they'll get help. And for a little bit of time, they can take a deep breath and exhale and just let the stress go, because they know that someone is on their side that will help them. And I have chills. It just fills my heart, and I really feel like this is my purpose.
You glow when you're saying that, and you glow literally when you're talking about this. So I would agree with you. It feels amazing to find a purpose. And so you have a reason for why everything's happened the way it has. It's been a tough road, but you are glowing talking about the help you give other people.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And with the genetic mutation I'm actually working with a scientific oncologist, because I have a mutated or variant of this mutation that's never been recorded before in any medical history books. This doctor's been to several conferences and spoken about it and won awards with it, the research, because I'm one of one. So hopefully down the road, whatever blood I give or research that they do, maybe that will save lives too. So I really feel like this is what I was meant to do. This is why I'm here.
It's so important. Well, you're talking about the genetic mutation. It's so important that the biomarker testing happens, the genetic testing happens, and that it's covered. My gosh, because it drives treatment decisions. Right? And I can't understand why there's so many barriers to getting that done.
Do you know that even though I have this mutation and it's in my family, I can't get my son tested because he's not 18. The insurance won't cover it, and I don't have the $12,000 to pay for the test. God. Even though I have a scientific oncologist who has done this for 30 years, writing letters to the insurance company, they won't test my son.
So I will say prayers that your son is going to be okay, but I'm sure it weighs on you.
Yeah.
So you talked about a soft conversation about survivorship once someone is finished with treatment. How do you see that conversation evolving?
So when I would say when the patient is finished with treatment and the doctor comes into the room, why isn't there a patient advocate in the hospital? Mm-hmm. Why isn't there someone who understands what they went through, who maybe went through it themselves, who understands resources and what to do? Why isn't there an advocate in the room with the patient and the doctor so that when you tell them they're cancer-free and they're allowed to start moving on with their life, that fight or flight that goes off is then helped with resources, is then softly given things to help them with their new life, with their survivorship. So, okay, you're cancer-free, you get to ring the bell. That's absolutely amazing. I just want to give you some resources. You might be feeling a little anxious. You might be feeling scared and don't know what to do, but that's okay. There are people that are out there who have gone through exactly what you're going through right now, but they're here to help you.
Right. So, no, that's okay. What you said came through. So I had a breast cancer survivor say to me, I felt like a baby bird flicked out of the nest. Everybody around me celebrating because I'm done with my treatment, but I didn't feel good. Suddenly all the people that were around me were telling me, we'll see you in 6 months, just like you said, Amanda. And she said, I felt isolated. I felt scared. I did not feel right. I didn't feel good. And I didn't know where to turn. And she said it put her in a deep depression for like 2 years.
So when I would say when the doctor is finished, when the patient is finished with treatment and the doctor comes into the room, why isn't there a patient advocate in the hospital? Why isn't there someone who understands what they went through, who maybe went through it themselves, who understands resources and what to do? Why isn't there an advocate in the room with the patient and the doctor so that when you tell them they're cancer-free and they're allowed to start moving on with their life, that fight or flight that goes off is then helped with resources, is then softly given things to help them with their new life, with their survivorship. So, okay, you're cancer-free, you get to ring the bell. That's absolutely amazing. I just want to give you some resources. You might be feeling a little anxious. You might be feeling scared and don't know what to do, but that's okay. There are people that are out there who have gone through exactly what you're going through right now, but they're here to help you.
It's a lot. I hear that from my cancer support group, that when the scan is coming around, scanxiety, and it's like, and I describe it as a specter that's always there, like you're talking about. It's no matter what you're doing, where you're going, that specter is there haunting you, that you may have recurrence. And I've heard it described as, like you said, a bruise. Something just little can go wrong and you go from 0 to 60 in seconds about, oh my gosh, what does this mean? And having somebody else to go talk about it with makes such a huge difference. And with that, We're going to close this podcast episode, but we're going to have Amanda back. Thank you, Amanda, so much. It was great having you here. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Everything Cancer podcast. We hope you found the conversation as insightful and as inspiring as we did. Remember, all the details about our guests, including their contact information and links to resources they've shared on their websites, will be included in the show notes. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting us by visiting our website, checking out our Patreon page, or becoming a sponsor. Your support helps us to continue to bring you these important discussions. Don't forget to subscribe to the Everything Cancer podcast on your favorite platform and follow us on social media. Always remember, the information shared here is not intended as medical advice. For any personal health concerns, please consult with your healthcare team. Thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to having you back with us again next time. And for anybody that you have invited to join us, please reach out if you would like to be a sponsor. We would welcome you. Thank you.